Hello and welcome to Sacred Psychology, the podcast for misfits and mystics. Here, neuroscience and spirituality go hand in hand. Join me, Tamara Powell, on a no-holds-barred adventure outside the box, because that's where all the truly great shit happens anyway. My guest today is Sarah Williams. After working in finance for 8 years, Sarah quit her job and spent 18 months traveling the world, climbing Kilimanjaro, backpacking around South America, and even doing a ski season. She used this time to help her decide on what she wanted to do with her life. Now Sarah sets up Tough Girl Challenges as a way of motivating and inspiring women and girls. She's the host of the Tough Girl podcast, where she interviews inspirational female explorers, adventurers, athletes, and everyday women who have overcome great challenges. I can't wait for you to hear all of the rest of her incredible feats too, including now studying for her master's in women and gender studies at Lancaster University. Oh, this woman, I tell you, she is a shot of Red Bull and feminism to the veins. So without further ado, I give you the one, the only, the incomparable tough girl herself, Sarah Williams. Hey, Sarah.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for being here and being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm really excited. So can't wait to chat more.
I am so stoked. You have such an intriguing story. I'm sure you hear that all the time.
I suppose it's almost like so normal for me now. I don't think it's really sort of that out of the ordinary. It's only when you start sharing, people are like, oh, okay, you did quit your job. And yes, you did go and climb Kilimanjaro. And yes, you did start your own company. It's like, yeah, I've done quite a lot of stuff.
I love that it just came so natural to you. I think that's also what amazes people.
Yeah, although I think there were definitely certain bits which I look back now and I think I don't almost like know how it happened. And I think it was definitely more challenging at the time. It's only now, we can look back with like perspective and just be like, wow, actually, yeah, there has been quite a few sort of challenging moments to get to here. It wasn't all sort of plain sailing and easy going.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and thank you for saying that for all the rest of us who haven't gone and climbed mountains yet. Hindsight is definitely 2020. And that's kind of what I want to pick your brain on and unpack a little bit. So walk us back. For those who are unfamiliar with you, you were working in the finance field. Is that right?
Yep. So I graduated university. I headed down to London because I thought that's what everybody did. Got a graduate job, started working in banking, enjoyed it. I was surrounded by intelligent people. It was very active and dynamic and fast moving. And suddenly I was on this career path and I was climbing up the ladder and getting promoted. And you ever suddenly like look around and think, hold on, how did I get here? What am I doing here? And that's exactly what happened to me. And I got to, I think I was about sort of 32. And I think I just hadn't stopped working for so long. And I was grey and I was ill and I was tired and I was run down. And I've been promoted a couple of months previously. And I was just thinking, right, I need to start gearing myself up now for the next level to take the next step. And just start thinking, I don't have the energy. I don't want to do this. And then you start thinking, do I want to do this for the next 20, 30 years of my working life? And the answer was no. And so I was in a very fortunate position that I was able to leave my job. I did have savings, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And that's when I started traveling and going to Africa to climb Kilimanjaro, the highest mountain in Africa. I headed to South America and backpacked around South America. I spent time in Australia. I cycled down Death Road. I did all these sort of crazy adventures.
Wow.
And it was amazing. And I was having this incredible time. But there does come a point where it's something like, this can't continue. A, because I was spending the money. And B, because I was getting to the point where I didn't have a purpose anymore. I didn't know, what I wanted to do. And it was almost, I don't want to use the word like worthless, but you sort of like you're having fun and you're traveling and you're meeting people. But actually I wasn't adding anything back. I wasn't contributing. Right. And I think that's what I found really, really difficult. But but, also did give me this opportunity to think. And I was in an environment where I wasn't pressured by friends and by family. And I got that time to think, well, what do I like to do? How do I like to spend my time? Yeah. And that's when I came up with Tough Girl Challenges, which is what I've been working on, and the brand that I've been building for the past sort of 3 and a bit years now, with the podcast and the blog and doing adventures and going on various challenges.
Woo, there's so much in there that I can't wait to unpack. My therapist existential mind is just running in a million directions with that. So first of all, I'm just fascinated. Did you just up and quit, or was this a planned out thing that the angst slowly grew and you started looking around as to what am I going to do about this?
Yeah, I think little things happen, and you sort of note these little things and little occurrences, but you sort of persevere and push on through. And I'm a very sort of positive person, would always try and put like a positive spin on things. But when it just builds and builds and builds, I don't think I realized how sort of unhappy I actually was. And then it did just all sort of come to a head, and there was just this time frame where I had these holidays booked. I just thought, do I want to come back? And it was actually like, no. But I definitely, it wasn't as planned as I'd like it to be. And I am actually like a planner, and I think that's one of my only sort of, not that I have regrets, but the only thing that I wish I'd done is started like my blog and my business sooner, started it as a side hustle, so that actually while I was working, I could have built something up on the side instead of sort of going full tilt into building up my business. I wish I almost had that, that security blanket of, paid employment, regular income coming in. That would have been amazing, but it definitely wasn't planned. But equally, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I don't think I'd ever really taken the time to think about what I wanted to do. And I don't think many of us do. I think we just sort of roll along, really, just go with the flow, and you just end up in these situations, or you end up working in these jobs. And you don't necessarily quite know how you got there, but suddenly you've been doing it for a number of years. And before you actually, no, this is not me. This is not the life that I want to be leading.
Yes. And that's what I love. Well, I love so many things about your story, but that's what I love. The initial kick to my gut was, oh, how awesome that your story really gives people permission to hit the pause button and be like, wait a minute, sir, madam, are you living the life that you thought you wanted? If not, you too can make a change and pivot.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, one thing I do want to say is, because so many people do promote this message of just go out and quit your job and it's all going to be amazing. I just do want to put a caveat in there that it is incredibly hard to build your own business. It's incredibly hard to be an entrepreneur.
Amen.
You walk away, and you walk away from a lot, the sick pay if you get ill, the security of a paycheck, having somebody else to blame, because it's always nice, isn't it? If you've got a boss above you, so my boss is so X, Y, Z.
And now you're your own boss.
Exactly. You're your own boss. The responsibility stops with you. Everything is your decision. It comes down to you whether you're a success or you're a failure. And that is a huge amount of pressure to be taking on. So there does need to be this sort of balance. So I'm just putting it out there. It's not all sunshine and roses. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that one of my most popular blog posts that I ever wrote was actually like, how do I afford to blog and podcast? I think a lot of people were quite shocked when it was suddenly like, oh, I have like 3 part-time jobs. I live at home with my parents. Like, I had to leave London and move out. And people were suddenly like, oh, it's not as easy as it sounds. And so
thank you for saying that, because in today's world of Instagram glossies, it's too easy for women to get down on themselves and beat themselves up with comparison-itis and jealousy, and just imagining that the entrepreneur life is just this beautiful laptop lifestyle in Bali and easy peasy. She just picked up one day and went backpacking and didn't think anything about it. And so I love that you're speaking to the behind the scenes look.
Well, I am smiling so much because that was actually part of the problem, because I'd be putting posts up on Instagram, these motivational quotes, and I'm off to the gym, I have my protein shake, I'm drinking my lemon water.
Yeah.
But what people don't see is that, yes, I am this fit, active person. I like to do these challenges, but generally I spend 16 hours a day either in my bedroom working on my laptop, because that's how you build your business, is through social media, or I'm editing podcasts, or I'm editing videos. And I think people get quite a shock because I try and actually share quite a lot of that. So my Instagram stories are generally just me sort of, oh, I'm editing podcasts. Oh, I'm studying. Yes, I'm reading. It's not all glamorous.
Well, thank you. From one entrepreneur to another, thank you for being one that keeps it real. So my next inquiry for you is, you spoke about, one of the reasons you came back and opened the Tough Girl brand is because you realized that you didn't have, a purpose at this point. And yet it's almost like at the beginning of your story, when you're in finance, your purpose had also diminished. And so talk to me a little bit about that call, the call of your soul to be like, hey, Sarah, hey, baby girl, we need more of this.
Well, I think, to put it all out there, one of the reasons I wanted to work in banking and finance was because of the money. Money was a massive motivator for me, a massive driver. It gave me a lot of purpose because I was very happy to be at my desk at 7 a.m. till 10, 11 o'clock at night, putting in all hours to get paid, sums, quite large sums of money. But then actually, I think when you step away from it all, you're suddenly like, actually, what really makes me happy, and it's obviously you do need a certain level of money to live, but after that point it becomes more about the experiences, the people that you're spending time with, you inside, like how you feel, if you're happy and if you're motivated. And with Tough Girl Challenges, originally it was more about me going out to do challenges and to share the stories. And I started with a blog, but no one was reading my blog because why would they know?
They didn't know who you were. Yeah.
And I wanted to share my story with more women and girls. I wanted to motivate and inspire, other girls to get fit and active and to travel and explore. And I went into, started going to girls' schools and to tell them about some of my different challenges and adventures. And I was talking to these young women about their future goals, and it was just soul destroying. They didn't either have any goals or ambitions, or they wanted to be a WAG, which in the UK is sort of the wife and girlfriend of like a footballer. So it would be the equivalent like an NFL star or something.
Oh yeah, we got those here.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with that if that's a goal. But there was just so much potential, and it was going to waste. And I remember coming home and flipping through the newspapers, and I was thinking, hold on, where are all the women? And I think it may have just been one of these days, but the following day I looked again, there's just no women at all. And I just suddenly thought, if you can't see it, how can they become it? How can they know about these female adventurers and explorers who are out there, who are swimming the English Channel, climbing the highest mountain in the world, running in these incredible races, doing these physical challenges, cycling and just everything across the board. And that's when I sort of started the podcast, which was purely about helping to increase the amount of female role models in the media. And I think this is the power of podcasting, that you can actually share these voices and share these stories and share these women, of all ages, all backgrounds, who are sharing their passion and, and also, what they've learned along the way. And many of them, they've stumbled, they've overcome challenges, but they've persevered, they've carried on going, and they've achieved, incredible things. And it's just, that's an amazing purpose for me to have. And actually, I did the Tough Girl podcast, must have been for about 2 years before I started making any money from it. And I think that's one thing, that you can be so passionate about something that it can drive you more than anything else. I think that's what's kept me going personally, through the sort of the tough times.
Whew, I'm just over here having a take me to church moment, Sarah. My inner Pentecostal, American Pentecostal from my upbringing is back out. You've seen those churches on television, perhaps?
Yeah. I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, please don't. Stay up there. It's fantastic. Not only for the inner feminist in me, but also as a mother to 2 daughters who are now 14 and 12. I have often thought many of the same questions that you did while scrolling through the newspaper of, how do I inspire them? How do I keep them motivated? How do I, show them that they can be so much more than a WAG? Which, what I also love that I hear in your messages, sure, that's great. We can, as women, find wonderful purpose in our relationships and through mothering or whatever we want to do. But if you want more, you can absolutely go out and get more.
100%. And I think one of the things that I've always said is when people ask me, it's sort of like, look, it's okay to be ambitious. It's okay to be driven. It's okay to be aggressive as you go after your goals. That is a positive thing to go out there and achieve what you want to achieve. If you've got a goal, whatever it is, whether it's sporting, physical, in the academics, in the working world, in the family world, in the relationship world, it doesn't matter as long as you do have a goal that motivates and inspires you personally.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So is that what brought you back around to your current course of study at Lancaster?
Yeah, 100%. So basically, I've started, to build the Tough Girl podcast up. I've now got this platform where I want to, increase my voice and increase my message. And motivating women and girls, feminism, equality is something I am very passionate about. But it's also something that I've realized I don't have enough knowledge about. So, I can talk about myself. I can talk about the incredible women that I've interviewed. I can talk about the challenges that I've done. But when it comes to things like, feminism and equality, I felt as though I didn't know enough about it, but I wanted to understand more. So I decided to go back to university sort of last year and start a master's program in women and gender studies, just to increase my own knowledge and understanding, to see how I can help, be part of the change and to help make a difference.
I love you so much. It's like it speaks to my soul that you decided, hey, I love this thing, but I really want to equip myself and arm myself with the knowledge and the research and the history behind this movement that's really calling to me.
Yeah, and it is. And I like the fact that I just want to learn and to listen and to really get that really like base understanding. And just because there's so many, more other women out there who've done incredible things, I just don't know about them. So I have to say that it has been challenging, to say the least, because, I haven't been to university for, sort of 12 years. I haven't done studying for a very long time, and going back and reading academic papers and writing essays, and I'm coming up to my dissertation. It's definitely been, it's another way, I suppose, for me to step outside of my comfort zone to do something like
and
this.
To challenge yourself. Yes.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I am all about like the physical challenges. Like, I love pushing my body to the limits, but actually this has proven this past sort of 6 months has been particularly challenging, mentally and emotionally, just trying to balance everything in, to do the reading, to feel, well, to be honest, to feel like an imposter. What am I doing here?
Yes.
Why am I reading this? Well, who thinks that I can write an essay? And so that is something that if you show up every day and you do the reading, you put in the work, you put in the hours, then eventually, you will get there. Or I hope I'll get there. I will get there.
You will get there. And I love that you are integrating. So you're so used to physically challenging yourself. And this is such a baby of mental and emotional work,
Totally. It's definitely a bit of a change.
So what's your paper on?
My dissertation is going to end up being on basically around women in adventure. I don't know what perspective yet, but I've started. The problem is I start doing all this research and I get so excited. So I start reading about, female ocean rowers. I start reading about women who spent time over in the Arctic doing all these incredible expeditions. I start reading about these female ultra runners and female cyclists. And I just sort of start going down all these different rabbit holes.
Lost in it, yes.
Exactly. So I do actually need to narrow it down and get more specific. And that's something I'll be working on the next couple of weeks.
Oh, fantastic. I love that topic, though, women and adventure.
Something along those lines.
It's fabulous. So why Kilimanjaro? Why hiking and backpacking?
Yes, Kilimanjaro, I think it's just one of those things. So Kilimanjaro is what's known as a freestanding mountain, so anybody can go and climb it. I think the youngest person to climb it has maybe been aged around 8 years old. The oldest person has been in the 80s, but you don't need any technical skills to go and do it. My sister, she was turning 30 and she wrote this big list of 30 things to do before you turn 30. And her number one thing on it was climbing Kilimanjaro. And so she just asked me, do I want to do this? And I was just like, oh, okay. I'd never really thought about it before. And I ended up saying yes. And it just turned into this incredible experience. I mean, even just going back to summit night to set the scene, we started walking at midnight. We were outside. It was freezing cold. It was pitch black. We were wearing head torches. The ground in front of us was illuminated, just, sort of a meter in front of us. And we started walking. And it was going to take about sort of 7 hours of walking. And I didn't have music in, I didn't have any podcast playing. It was just me and my thoughts. And I don't think I'd ever realized how negative I was being to myself, because my inner voice started saying, Sarah, why are you doing this? You're tired. You can't get to the top. You shouldn't keep walking. Why don't you stop? Why don't you turn around? You don't want to do this. This is what makes you think that you can make the top of that mountain. And I realized after 2 or 3 hours of this that, hold on, that actually I'm not going to make it to the top if I continue with this negative attitude, and actually something needs to change, and the environment's not going to change. So actually the only thing that can change is me and my attitude and how I approach this, and actually starting to be kind to myself and be positive, as in, you can make this, you can keep moving forward, just keep putting one step in front of the other, just step, keep on going. And it was, I think that I found was really, really interesting, something that I sort of have taken away with me and I still sort of look back on now. But it was just an amazing moment. I mean, one of the points which stand out is a place called Gilman's Point, where you're only about sort of 300 meters away from the summit. And when we got to Gilman's Point, the sun started to rise up and you could see the curvature of the earth. You're above the cloud layer, and it was just bluer skies. It was just so bright, and we were given hot chocolate to drink, and it was just an incredible moment to experience. And I think this is what life comes down to, is these moments in time. And with things like climbing a mountain, to get to the top of a mountain is for you to physically do it, is to put one step in front of the other. And yes, you can have help and support, and there, we did have porters around us helping us and supporting us, but actually at the end of the day, it does come down to you taking those steps.
So you and that mindset work, it sounds like.
It was, it was really good. And then I suppose the backpacking was just because I was still living in London. I was just having a wonderful time, but thought, hold on, this is ridiculous. I'm spending so much money and I'm sort of wasting my time. I'd traveled previously around Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, but I'd never done South America. And I just thought this will be amazing. So I booked a flight into Lima, into Peru, and a flight out of Rio. And I gave myself, 3.5 months to get between the two. And I went and climbed the live volcano, the volcano Vilacari. I went to Bolivia, cycled down Death Road, the world's most dangerous road. I visited Machu Picchu. It was an incredible time. Although some of the bus journeys were horrendous because you're on these buses for like 24 hours at a time. It is a big continent to travel around. But, I got to meet great people, have great experiences, got time away to really think about, what I wanted to do and how I wanted to spend my time.
Whew. And since it's not like you've stopped since then either. You've run marathons, you've hiked the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, well, so with Tough Girl Challenges, I thought, it was very easy for me to go out and talk about, the different things that I'd done. But actually, I'd lost that feeling. When you step outside your comfort zone, you get those butterflies in your stomach. You get that sort of that nervous apprehension. What am I doing? Can I do it? And I'd sort of lost that because I was so inside my comfort zone and I hadn't challenged myself for quite a while. And I'd run marathons before, so I knew running a marathon was in my comfort zone. But I'd heard about this race called the Marathon des Sables, which is where you run 6 marathons in 6 days across the Sahara Desert, carrying everything you need in your backpack.
That just sounds crazy. Tell me more, Sarah. Tell me more.
But it is this sort of this crazy thing, which if you've never run before, it's only like 6 marathons in 6 days. And one of those days, it's a double marathon, so 52 miles. Now, I can feel my heart rate going up now, even thinking about it, because that took me outside my comfort zone, because it was a case of, hold on, can I do this? Can I run 6 marathons in 6 days? Can I run for 52 miles in a day? And to be honest, I didn't know if I could, and that was part of the challenge, part of the excitement. And also, if my message is to motivate and inspire women and girls to travel and explore, to live life to the fullest, to be fit and to be active, and also, as well as talking the talk, I've got to walk the walk. I can't just talk about this stuff. I've actually got to get out there and do it, which is what I did. And it was, a phenomenal experience. I mean, there was this one point I'd run past 30 miles on the long stage, and I'd never been here before. I'd never run further than a marathon. And it's amazing what your mind and body goes through. at about 42 miles, I remember getting this massive like adrenaline surge, and I was just I'd never felt anything like it. It was, I tightened the straps up on my backpack. I was running along. In my mind, I was thinking, this is why you've trained for this. And I just remember overtaking people and just running forward. And to me, I thought, oh, this is, I've only got another 8 miles to go. This is going to be awesome. I'm just going to smash it out. It's going to be incredible to the end. And then you end up hitting this like massive wall, and your body starts shutting down, and mentally you go to very, very dark places. And it's like, do I stop? What do I do? How do I keep on going? And it's amazing the tips and tricks that you learn while you're out there. And I remember crossing the finish line. It must have been about 5 to 2 in the morning. And I was just on this massive high. But by the time I'd walked from the finish line to my tent, my body was like, no, we're done now. And I ended up going to the most horrendous pain you could imagine. Sort of, I couldn't lie down. My feet hurt, my hands hurt, my hair hurt, everything, my whole body was hurting, and I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't sleep, but I knew I just needed to rest. But that was, an incredible moment. If you've never heard of Marathon des Sables, just go and check out some of the videos, and you'll see the challenge that it is. Not only is it mental and physical, but just the environment of being in the desert during the day when the temperatures are in the high 40s, sometimes low 50s. It's just a huge amount of stress to place on your body.
So Sarah, I am so intrigued. Tell me, do you think that you had a natural proclivity for this, or do you think, operant conditioning and mindset really took over? It is a combination of both. Like, I just can't imagine that you were just this shy wallflower in London growing up.
No, I don't think I was shy. I think I was very fortunate that when I was 18, I did go traveling, and I think that gave me a huge amount of confidence. So then when I was working in London in finance in a very male-dominated environment, I remember being, the youngest blonde female. I used to be blonde back in the day. And I'd be in these meetings, and there's no way that I could communicate to say, oh, God, I'm really sorry. I just don't think this is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to.
They were going to take you seriously.
100%. So I did. I was confident anyway, but I think that I even became sort of more confident, more aggressive, should I say, in my communication style, but more able to deliver things, get things done, and just take ownership of it. And so I think that's definitely helped. And that's definitely something which has also helped with the mindset when you go out and do these challenges, is to be focused and dedicated, and just to almost be very, very single-minded in the goal that you're going after. But I'd say I was like a fit person, but I'm not an amazing runner at all. I'm a slow plodder. I'm not very quick. But what I am is I am determined, I am focused, and I will show up. I'll put in the hours of training. I had a training plan to, first of all, to build up my strength and conditioning, but I also had a running plan as well. And I would make sure that I ticked off every single box that needed to be ticked off. So that
was one of my next questions. How does one even train for these things?
Well, for the Marathon des Sables, what's interesting is you basically want to be as lean as possible. And so I sort of broke my program down into 2 parts. And the first part was basically just packing on muscle and getting super lean. And I did sort of 6 months, and my body fat was down to like 14%. I was deadlifting about 100 kilograms. I was just the strongest.
Damn, mama.
It was awesome. And then the next phase was the endurance training. And my brother lives over in Australia, so I headed out there for 3 months. And to be honest, I was running, 4 or 5 times a week, and it would get to 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Australia during the summer, and it would be about 40 degrees, and everybody else would be like, oh my God, I'm melting, it's so hot. And I'd be like, no, this is perfect. I want to wait till the middle of the day when it's at its hottest, so I can go out and go running, go training. So yeah, you've got to enjoy the training, you've got to enjoy the journey, because it's not all about the finish line. It's just sort of about enjoying every step that you take as you go.
Has anyone ever wondered if you were a little bit of a masochist?
I think a lot of people do, especially when you start getting into the ultra world as well, because some people have done some phenomenal running challenges, and are much faster than me and much quicker than me. I mean, I've interviewed women who run around the continental United States, who run the full length of New Zealand, the full length of Great Britain, run around Great Britain, run around Wales. So there's some phenomenal athletes out there. But actually, I think what it'll come down to is it's not necessarily the physicality of it. It's definitely the mindset and the mental side of things.
Yeah. So what do you think really prompted your soul to push itself in this way? Do you know what I mean? Like, why the tough girl challenges? You could have chosen pretty much anything as a way to challenge yourself. Why do you think your soul was pulling you out into, the travel world and these very long, arduous physical excursions?
That is such a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked it before. I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think back. Like I do like being physical. I do like being outside, going back to nature. I do love the experience of traveling and visiting new places and pushing myself. But I don't know. I don't necessarily know that if there's one specific reason why. It's just something I suppose I get a lot of enjoyment from and personal satisfaction. I mean, the other thing could be is I think I like disproving people, and I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's like people, I think, make assumptions about you. If if you look a certain way, then I do like the fact that people may look at me or see me and think, oh, but she's so girly and she's so feminine.
Look at that Barbie.
Yes. And it's especially when I used to be blonde as well.
I bet.
And then it sort of, when then people would hear some of the stuff I'd done, it would be like this little bit, oh, then I've totally misjudged you. And I think I quite like shocking people. I think it's, I think I almost want people to judge the book by its cover, but then it's the same time I think, yeah, you have no idea what I've done or what I'm capable of doing. So I think definitely that element. But
I love it. I'm just picturing you as this cute little blonde Barbie spirit, like before you came into this incarnation, right? Above the earth, if such a thing happens. This is just what's in my mind's eye. And I'm just wondering, like, if there is such a thing as the divine or the universe, or even if you were just talking to yourself, it's almost like, I wonder what you would say. Like, I'm going down there to, my mind rambles to things like to break stigmas and to inspire others and to show these girls, really what a woman's made of.
Yeah, and I think it does almost come down to stereotypes, because I quite like it when I do go into girls' schools or schools and give talks, because I think they can look at me and think, oh, hold on, she's not what I was expecting, and yet she's still gone out and done all these incredible things. So actually, we shouldn't necessarily judge a book by its cover. So I do like the thought of that, and I think that's why it's so great to actually share these stories of different women. So I interview women of all ages, of all shapes and all sizes. And I think that's almost so incredible is when, I interviewed one woman, and she'd run around the perimeter of Wales, and she wrote an article about it, and for a magazine, and the magazine basically said, oh, would you mind if we use stock photos because she didn't look like a runner? And it's when I hear stories like that, I think it's so important to almost, to show women different challenges, because women need to see other women doing them who look like them, and who are of a different age or a different background, and actually it does make a big difference. So I think definitely like trying to break the stereotypes and just be like, yeah, that's actually awesome. I think that would be my thing.
I love your assertive, adventurous soul that came here to break stigmas and barriers for all of us. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing, for listening to your own call, and for now traveling and giving the rest of us, and speaking to these other women, the rest of us an opportunity to ponder what's possible for us.
Oh, thank you.
No, truly, because I imagine, and I hear women's stories like the ones that you're describing, or even your own, or even like Elizabeth Gilbert, right? So I'm picturing now these stay-at-home moms, changing diapers, scrubbing dishes, mopping floors, and they're not feeling very tough girl. They've perhaps lost some of their, joie de vivre, and just going, yeah, but okay, but that's cute, Liz. That's cute, Sarah. How am I supposed to do that here with all this baby weight and all of the challenges?
I'm just gonna. Mothers, anybody who's raising children has, hands down, got, oh my God, so much love and respect from me, because I know I'm a single woman. I don't have any children. I don't have any dependents, so I can be very, very selfish. But when I was actually over in Australia with staying with my brother and his wife, they actually just had a baby girl. That's one of the reasons I was over there. And I remember it was taking, 3 functioning adults, one little baby,
Mm-hmm.
2 dogs as well. But, the successful day was managing to get myself and Julie, out the house, feed the dogs, out for a coffee, come back. We were exhausted. Mm-hmm. And I don't really know how women with children do it. I mean, I spoke to this one incredible lady called Anne Daniels, who's a great British Arctic explorer. And what happened to her was she was in her 30s and she was pregnant. She was going through a divorce. She then found out that she was having triplets.
Whoa.
So she ended up, going through a divorce, losing her job, having triplets. And she found out about this opportunity to go on this expedition to the Arctic. You need to be selected for it. She'd never done anything like this before in her life. And she just got this calling and this inkling. And she shared this story of how, she'd had her babies, 3 of them, which just blows my mind, very different reports. And she went out there and she was training, she was running with the buggy, she was doing push-ups, and it was just incredible. So, this is not to say like all women have to go out and do this. I mean, to be honest, I think any mother who can, get up, shower herself, feed herself is one tough cookie, because it's just.
But she can if she wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, it's everybody's circumstances are so different, whether, if you're a single mum, if you've got a partner, if you've got family close by. But I think the key thing, I think we talked about this before we went on air, it's this comparison thing which is, do not compare yourself to anybody else. And it happens to all of us, because the only thing is, it's going to make you feel worse. There's always going to be somebody who's a faster runner, who has got more clothes or a bigger house, or, whatever it may be. And actually it doesn't make you feel better to use comparison at all. I mean, we could do it in the podcasting world. Be like, oh, I've got so and so many downloads.
We do it in the podcasting world, yes.
And it just makes you feel bad about yourself. And actually you need to focus on all the good stuff that you're doing, and actually just really appreciate, you know what? I made it out of bed today. That is a tough challenge. And even one lady I was speaking to who's suffered very badly from chronic fatigue, and her Everest every day was just getting out of bed to brush her teeth. And that was her marathon des Sables. And, everybody is fighting their own battles. And it is, it's tough. So it doesn't have to be this big physical run across the desert challenge. It could just be getting out of bed and having a shower. That could be your challenge. And you do that, go celebrate and go sit on the couch, go and reward yourself.
Yeah, it's challenging yourself and your own personal goals and giving yourself permission to reconnect with that spark and that sense of adventure and passion and purpose and transcendence and all the things that comes up with, a tough girl challenge.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's about having that personal spark inside of you, which is, that's what drives you, that's what motivates you. And that's what sometimes you've got to focus on, or that's what you've got to find.
So Sarah, what's still on your bucket list, girl?
Oh, well, there's so many things. So I did the Appalachian Trail this summer over in America, but there's 2 other big trails in America. You've got the Pacific Crest Trail, which was made famous by Cheryl Strayed from Wild, and then there's also the Continental Trail Divide, which runs down the center. So I'm very interested in those trails, but I'm very excited. I'm looking to do something a little bit different. And I'm thinking about doing a big cycle challenge, which may be from like Vancouver all the way down the west coast of America. But I'm also looking at New Zealand. There's so many things. And the more women do, the more who do these things, I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe I should row an ocean, or maybe I should go climb another mountain. So my bucket list just gets bigger and longer, and it's getting a bit crazy. It's getting out of control, to be honest.
I think that's why you are so charismatic and magnetic, is because I can just feel the buzz coming off of you. You just see magic all around you.
Oh, thank you.
So one of my final questions for you then is that if we were, fast forwarding another 40, 50 years and it was like our last day on earth together, what are you hoping that we would remember you by? What would your legacy be?
Oh God, that's such a great question. I suppose, I would love that for Tough Girl Challenges, the Tough Girl podcast to be this incredible resource for women, like 1,000 interviews on there, audio interviews, video interviews. I'd love to maybe get my doctorate. I'd love to have made substantial changes in this world of adventure and exploration, and just to really make sure that there is this equal representation of women to be this real game changer and somebody who could pinpoint and say, actually, do you know what, that was the starting point. Sarah started off with this little tiny blog, and then it changed into a podcast, and then she started doing challenges, and it just grew and it grew and it grew, and it became this massive ripple effect. So women would listen, they'd hear, they'd be inspired, they'd then go out and do their own personal challenges. Their friends would see them doing their challenges. Their family would see them doing their challenges. That would then inspire their friends and family. More women would listen to the podcast. More, it just goes on and on. I don't know. I suppose I just want to make a real difference in the amount of female role models out there, so that young women growing up can see that they, obviously that they can do anything, but they can see other women doing it and think, actually, do you know what, she can do it? I can do it. Break down those barriers, break down those stereotypes, and just motivate and inspire.
And so a woman as tough as you and as strong as you, whose soul really came here to help reawaken that in all of us. Now I'm curious as to what still keeps you up at night. You're so fearless, but I'm sure there's some vulnerability in there.
100%. And I think that's one of the things that I think people don't necessarily see, is because you do have this image. I suppose the thing that keeps me up at night would be like a relationship, because doing what I do, I'm so independent, and I love traveling, and I'm happy to go off around the world by myself. I'm happy to go on these big long hikes, but it is, is that thing, do I want a family? Do I want children? I hate to say it, but I'm getting to that certain age. And it's like, am I making the right decisions about my future? And sometimes I just don't know if I'm taking the right steps and moving in the right direction. And I think sometimes I am vulnerable, and I want to be vulnerable. And I suppose I need people to know that almost that I'm not tough all of the time. Right. And actually, I do need to have that support, because actually I couldn't do, the podcasting and the blogging, without my parents' support, but also without my listeners. And, how I make my income is actually through Patreon. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yes.
But so I have, I have like 170 women and men who support me. And sometimes I just don't know if people realize how much they actually are supporting me, not only financially, but when they send me emails and messages, because you do have these low days and you think, am I doing the right thing? But then you'll get an email saying, oh, Sarah, your podcast has really helped me. I've signed up for this triathlon, or I was going through this difficult time, or I'm struggling at work, but I listen to your podcast in the morning and I'm so raring to go. It just motivates me, and it inspires me, and I've signed up for this and I'm doing that. And that's what gives me the boost. And I said, not to carry on for too long.
No, please.
I suppose you cannot be tough all the time. And even when I was out on the Appalachian Trail, one of the things that I tried to do was to really share like how I was feeling, because it's okay to feel how you feel. And I think sometimes with expeditions and challenges, that people just see the glamorous side of things, and they see you summiting the mountain and finishing your great challenge. But actually, had they seen what I'd been through the days before, and there's so many funny videos of me on YouTube where I'm just sobbing and crying. And, I'd walked like, maybe 2,000 miles. I dropped 2 stone in weight. I was just like this emotional wreck almost in the final couple of days. And I'd walk 30 miles and another 30 miles. And people only get to see maybe 6 minutes of small little clips.
Right.
And for one video, it was just me crying the whole time. But that was just how I was feeling. And I suppose, just want to be honest about that it's not all sunshine and roses, but you can focus on the positive things, but you do have to persevere through those tough times and those tough days, and just know that you will get through it, and that you can get through it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing some of your vulnerability there. So my final question for you is, what big soul lesson or lessons have you learned about yourself thus far in this journey?
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I love that question. What
have you learned about being Sarah?
Oh my God, I'm going to get like emotional.
That's what I specialize in.
Yeah. I think what I've learned is that I put too much pressure on myself and that my standards are so ridiculously high that I am somebody who, I like to say I'm like a recovering perfectionist, because I'm always striving, and it's like I can never achieve it. And when is it going to be like sort of good enough? And so I think that's the thing for me, is to try and just let go, even just slightly, to try not to be so in control all the time, to not make everything be so perfect, and just to almost relax and have some fun. Not that I'm not having fun, but
no, that's perfect. Yeah, it was a perfect answer of perfectionism. Thank you.
Take the pressure off, be kind to myself, and realize it's not the be all and end all. It's not the end goal. It is actually about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's about enjoying every single day and just being happy with what you're doing.
Oh, what a brilliant answer. Sarah, thank you so much. You are like a shot of rocket fuel to the veins.
Oh, well, thank you as well. You've been asking brilliant questions, making me think.
Well, we want to ask ones that I'm sure you don't get all the time. At least try to keep it interesting.
You've definitely done that.
So where can these women who are going to want more of that Red Bull to their veins come hang out with you and find you?
Oh, best place to go is to go to my website, toughgirlchallenges.com. And from there are links to the podcast, to my books, to all my social media. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow along on Instagram stories. You'll just see me editing and reading.
It's not all perfect on there.
Not all perfect on there. It's occasionally there'll be a few nice shots and some good motivational quotes. But yeah, toughgirlchallenges.com is the best place to go.
You rock our world, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Sacred Psychology Podcast. I pray you found some inspiration and empowerment to go out and make this life the most fulfilling possible. You can follow Sacred Psychology on Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Tag us on social media and let us know what you think as well. Please note that the information provided is not meant to convey professional, psychological, or medical advice. If you could use such services, I highly recommend seeking them out from someone you trust. To get in touch with me personally or to see how we might work together, please check out ariatherapy.com or talesfromatrapezoid.com. Until next time, everyone.